Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to be talking about Batman. Yes, again, Batman. Today we're going to be talking about where to start reading Batman in 2021. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent, and today I wanted to do a little quick video about where to start reading Batman. So, I said in the intro, like, in 2021, it's not really in 2021, but it's like, here now, as, not a lot of the stuff that I have here has changed from what I thought maybe 5 years ago, but if we do an update in future years, if there's an amazing Batman story that we need to talk about and insert into the list, we can then title it that year as well. But this is 2021. These are the Bat books that I have on my shelf that I would give to people if I told them to start reading Batman. Of course, there are other books that I don't have that I also would recommend, but these are the ones I have in physical form that I would easily loan out to somebody who wants to start reading Batman. So, you want to start reading Batman? Okay, cool. What do you need to read? Well, I think mainly there are really 3 books you need to read to understand Batman. Those 3 books are these 3 right here. I have Batman Year One. This is an old copy, but there are multiple versions of this in trade paperback, in hardcover, absolute edition, whatever. This is what you need to start reading Batman. Like, this is it, right here. It's 4 issues long. It was published in 1986, 87, something like that. It's by Frank Miller, drawn by David Mazzucchelli, and with Richmond Lewis here. And it's beautiful, beautiful, very simplistic art. So if you're just getting into the wide range of comic art styles, this is something you're going to be able to read and digest and follow along. I think that's one of the strengths of it. As well as, Mazzucchelli is one of the masters at storytelling. He hasn't done a whole lot of comics. He's done this. He's done Daredevil Born Again. He has some self-published, graphic novels, things like that. But there's not a whole lot to tell. He doesn't have a huge run on any specific character. It's most of these one-offs. I think he was a teacher in New York City for a long time. I don't know if he's still doing it or not. But he's a wonderful, wonderful artist. And I would say, if you want to start reading Batman, start with this, because it lines everything up, and it introduces you to Batman, Bruce Wayne, the history, the motivation, and doesn't really get into much past that. It's a cool, simple Batman adventure that introduces you really to the relationship between Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Jim Gordon. Then, this is the second book you need to read. And if you've watched any of the Batman animated series or anything like that, then you know what I'm talking about here. You're not going to be lost when you jump to the end of Batman's career. So the second book you need to read is Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. Why are we jumping to the end, Brent? Well, for me, this is where I jumped into Batman really head first. This is my original copy of the trade paperback, published in, 97 or something like that. Let's see if this was 1996 this book is from. So I probably received it soon after that. And I've read it many times. It's well worn. It's got its fair share of creases and all that stuff. But it is just a wonderful, wonderful book. And this is possibly the quintessential Batman story. And that's why I am including it on this list. You will see people say Year One or Dark Knight Returns or Year One over the other. But it's constantly going like this. But when people talk about the quintessential Batman story, it's this one, Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. So this is about Batman coming back after a long hiatus, and because of that long hiatus, I think it is an easy story to read for beginners, for new Batman readers. You might know who Two-Face is, you might know who Selina Kyle, you definitely know who the Joker is, and there's a Robin in here, but it doesn't rely on. There's been 4 Robins right now. This doesn't rely on any of that. It's a brand new Robin to Batman. So it's Carrie Kelly, and she is introduced in the story, and that's all you need to know. Everything else that happens in the past is kind of alluded to. If you know who Superman is, you'll be fine here to understand what's going on. This book was written in 1986. Yeah, 10th anniversary edition. I should have known that this book was 1996. But anyway, this book came out in 1986, and this book, along with Watchmen, changed comics forever. So this is definitely the quintessential Batman story, and that is why it's on my list of the first books, first 2 books to read Batman on. The third one, and I think you could stop here. We're going to add a couple more. The third one I think you need to read is this one. This is Batman The Long Halloween. I just upgraded my copy to one of these newer ones with the nicer paper. This is by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Tim Sale does all the art here. Jeff Loeb is the writer. This is 13 issues of a Batman story, a long mystery that happens over the course of a year. And what's great about this book is that it introduces you to the Gotham City characters, right? So it introduces you to Batman's relationship with Gordon. It's fleshing out what happens in here. So this happens pretty early on in Batman's career. There's no Robin yet. You see, Two-Face is in here a little bit. So we're at the beginning of the villains, and really this book is about the shift from Gotham City being driven by mobsters, which is who Batman's going up against in here, to driven, run by all the crazy Arkham Asylum type people, and they're introduced in the back half of the book as the mobsters kind of take each other out, and Batman tries to figure out who this big murderer is. So you're introduced to characters like the Joker, the Riddler, Solomon Grundy, Scarecrow. All these guys are in here, but not enough to really make you go like, oh, I really have a good handle on the character. It's just like, hey, here's a villain, here's his shtick. Everything is introduced in that way. So it's a good primer for like the rogues gallery of Batman in that way too, because it does feature so many different characters, but in a short, clean way that it's not so confusing as if you're jumping into the 80 plus years of Batman history. So with that, that's really like my top 3 is what I would tell people to read. With that, if you really like Long Halloween, you can jump into Dark Victory. This is 13 or 14 issues here. This is the sequel, same team, and this is about the introduction of Robin. It's also following up on the same mob family that is introduced here, the Falcones, and you get the introduction of Robin. Two-Face plays very heavily into this book, and it's kind of like another almost murder mystery, playing with the same characters we had in the last book. You get more villains, you get Poison Ivy, you get Mr. Freeze, but really what you're coming back for is the storytelling and, the art by Tim Sale. Tim Sale's art, very stylized, very unique. I want to say it's for everybody. Maybe there are certain people that don't like it, but when you get shots like this, like just look at this Jim Gordon shot, the shadows, like that is the one thing that Tim Sale does so well with his Batman stuff, is just the shadows on everything make everything feel dark and grimy and street level. And just look at these panel, like beautiful shots. I love it. So also, if you haven't read these, or you do read these and you really enjoy them, I got good news for you. There's an animated movie of this. There's 2 of them that make basically one. You can check that out. It's very, very good. There's an animated movie of Year One. That's pretty good. You can check that out as well. There's a 2-parter of Long Halloween. Part 1 is out. Part 2 is upcoming in the next month or so. I think it was okay. It was, teetering on good, so you can look forward to that. So those are my, top picks for places to start reading Batman. Let's put Long Halloween in the front here. But that's good. But I got good news for you. This video's not over. Some honorable mentions to jump into more modern stories, because those are all, at least 10, 20 years old or something like that. Let's jump into more fun stuff. This is Batman Earth 1 by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. This is volume 1. There are 3 volumes of this out there. You can go and check these out. This is fun to start reading Batman, because if you've got a decent knowledge of the animated series or cartoons or something like that, or you've played the Arkham games maybe, and you want a fun twist on who all these characters are, this is the place to go. I think the Batman movie with Matt Reeves and the guy from Twilight, Robert Pattinson. Sorry, Robert. You don't deserve that moniker, the guy from Twilight. You're a better actor than that, and I think you're going to prove us all that with this movie. I don't think anybody's seen any movies since you stopped doing Twilight. But anyway, I think this might draw a little bit from that. that movie's going to draw some from this, I think. Seems to be very dark and broody Bruce, and that's where we get really dark and broody Bruce, at least in the modern times. This is fun because you're really seeing, like, Batman Year One starts at a certain spot, and this is almost like another Batman Year One, although this is more in depth about gadgets and how he makes the suit and stuff like that, more along the lines of how the Batman Begins movie was, with those types of details. Year One doesn't really jump into all that. It's more about how he fights crime and establishes himself with Gordon and as a creature of the night. This does all that as well, but just in a different way. That's fun. The best twist about this book is who Bruce's mother is and how that ties into the mythos of Gotham City, and that twist is what drives the other 2 volumes in this series, the Earth 1 Batman series, so you should definitely check all of those out. I think they are phenomenal. I've got reviews for all those up on the channel as well. The most recent quintessential Batman story, I think, is this one right here, Batman Court of Owls. This is the DC Essential Edition. This is hard to find nowadays, to find it all collected in one. I don't know, is there a deluxe edition of this out yet? I'm not sure. But you can definitely find still, like, Volume 1 and 2. They'll split it up, say Court of Owls and Night of Owls or something like that. But if you can find the City of Owls, or Essential Edition online somewhere, I definitely recommend. You can just read it all in one shot. This is by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. This is the story, the Batman story that launched with Batman #1. It launched of the New 52. So this is from 2011. So this is still 10 years old. But this is the Batman, basically, that everybody looks back on as the most recent, fantastic, classic Batman run, is Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. And this is what kicks it all off. You can jump in here with no knowledge of, any of the New 52 stuff and enjoy it. It does not really, it's not a big reboot, refresh of Batman in terms of, like, it reintroduces all the villains and the characters. No. DC decided, for whatever reason, the New 52 to keep a lot of his history and not reboot it like they were rebooted everything else. So there is some background knowledge, like Nightwing is in here, Damian Wayne, Bruce's son, is in here. So if you haven't read up on them, I think you'll be okay to read this. You can also Wikipedia them as well. But it's a very, very cool storyline. So this basically deals with, there's a group called the Court of Owls, and they are apparently the puppet masters of Gotham, and they hide in secret floors and secret rooms all throughout these high-rises in Gotham City, the way that owl nests are, and all that mythology is explored here in this book. And it has to do with all the old families of Gotham that are, pulling power levers behind the scenes to keep Gotham the way that they want it, so they can keep making their money. And Batman's had a long career, and this is the first time he's encountering them. And they have these ninja assassins called Talons, who are undead zombies. It's not quite clear, but it is kind of explained in this book. And there's a history with Nightwing that happens in here as well. So beautiful, beautiful art done by Greg Capullo. You got some backups in here at the end by Raphael Albuquerque, who is a phenomenal artist who did stuff with Scott Snyder on American Vampire. But this is the Batman run that everybody is looking at to beat right now. This Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo Batman run. So if you're interested in this, there's a whole bunch of trades of that. There's a omnibus that gets the first half of this run that is out right now. But this is a phenomenal, phenomenal piece of writing and art. There's a great issue in here that is more fun to read in a book than on digital, because I read it on digital. I had a fucking hard time reading it that way. There's an issue where Batman's in a maze, and so as the issue progresses, the pages turn, right? So they're landscape right here, and then they turn and they turn, and then eventually they're upside down. Like, I'm holding the book right ways up, and these pages are upside down. So you guys actually turn the book as you read, to read the pages, to get that kind of sense that Batman has of his world being turned upside down because he's in such a precarious situation here. It was hard to do on the iPad because it always wants to self-correct, but it's awesome to do in here in the physical format. So definitely recommend Court of Owls. Lastly, of the most recent, this is the most recent book on my list, This is Batman White Knight. This is the deluxe edition, so it's a little bit bigger than your trade paperback. There are trade paperbacks out of this. This is just a phenomenal, not one and done, I guess, Batman story. This is a collection. There was 8 issues that were published in 2018, 2019. And this has to do with the Joker and Harley Quinn and what would happen to Batman in Gotham City if the Joker went sane. What happens then? And the Joker going sane has a lot of repercussions for a lot of the characters. This is Sean Murphy on art and writing, and he does a phenomenal job with all the characters, and his ideas are fresh, and that is what I most enjoyed about this run, is the fresh ideas he brought to this, the Batman mythos, as well as some great callbacks. There's a shot in here, I don't know if I'm going to find it while I'm flipping through it, of the Batcave, and Bruce Wayne has all the Batmobiles in there, from, the Tumbler to the 89 Batmobile to the current one to the 60s Batmobile. Just, there's just a love of the character of Batman that's demonstrated on these pages that is just phenomenal. So Sean Murphy's artwork, I would call it scratchy and detailed, but it's definitely a departure from, David Mazzucchelli's classical, mid-70s kind of, early 80s art style. This is more modern stuff here. And this kind of, if you like Greg Capullo, I think they're not quite similar in terms of the way they draw, but their detail level and their scratchiness and the way they use shadows is pretty close. Yeah, here's a shot. They actually bring out the 89 Batmobile in this car chase scene. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely recommend this. If you like this, there's another one called Curse of the White Knight, which I love because it introduces Azrael to this world. And then even further past that, there's a phenomenal Harley Quinn book that is Batman White Knight Harley Quinn, and that's phenomenal as well. So definitely a road you can go down on Batman here. So that's my recommendations for how to start reading Batman in 2020. After you do that, you can kind of jump in anywhere. Hell, you could jump in before you read these as well. Don't be afraid to jump in on the James Tynion run on Batman right now. It's phenomenal. Starting even before the Infinite Frontier stuff, when he comes on, it's pretty good. The Joker War is pretty interesting. You got Jorge Jimenez on art most of the time, phenomenal stuff. Gilliam March doing some other stuff on there. That's really, really good. The Detective Comics run with Dan Mora and who is writing it? It's a woman, Marcio Takara, I think is her name. Sorry if I got it wrong. But anyway, that's phenomenal too. I'm really enjoying that run. So there's definitely great Bat books on the stands if you want to go pick up some floppies. If you're looking for stuff just to read a whole story in one evening or something like that, those are my best places to start. And you can go from there. Honorable mention, Batman Under the Red Hood. There's a movie of this as well, so you can check that out. This has got Doug Mahnke on art, as well as Judd Winnick writing. This introduces the character of Red Hood, who's very popular because of who he was in the Batman mythos. Basically, you can pick up this book and read the whole thing and have it all explained. Just know that there have been a lot of characters who have been the Red Hood. So there you go. That's my video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think is a great place to start reading Batman down below in the comments, or what are you going to read next after you read all these. Thank you guys for watching. As always, we will see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.